Well, here we are, November 2025, and this time last month, the beginning of the month, I did a video, short video, 10 minutes, something like that, describing the things that I wanted to achieve inside of this company, Blending Room, over the next month period. And do you know what? I think, irrespective of the success of the video, because none of my videos are a particular success, however, it was a success for me. Why? Well, because putting out into the public domain the things that I want to try to achieve inside of my month has actually kept me honest. Inside of that, I stated three things. One, that I was going to begin doing up the Probat, and I've even released 2 videos about that. And there's one that I might be doing a little later on today. 2, I wanted to focus on sorting out our brand. We hadn't touched the brand or branding since 2018 or 19, so a little while. And there's a bunch of things that we needed to sort out for the health and future of our business. And I've made that commitment. I have sent some emails, I've had a meeting, and that thing is now ongoing. There's a lot to do, and I definitely was not going to get that completed inside a month, nor too was I going to complete the Probat inside of a month, but there we are. Number 3 was, as we approach November and December, of course, I needed to sort out my Christmas coffee, and I have secured the coffee that I wish to release at the end of this month, November. The first release of that will be the very last Saturday in November, which I believe off the top of my head is the 29th of November, and therefore it will be released to the world and you can all have a try as long as you're within the UK. Now, that was October. What about November? Well, I have to respect that we're on the cusp of the busiest period within our commercial year. That is December. November's pretty healthy as well. That means there's a lot of roasting, there's a lot of focus. We have quite a lot of responsibility on our shoulders. There will be people who will be purchasing coffee for the holiday season. There will be cafes that are expecting good footfall and therefore great revenue. And we have to make sure that we are present, fit and able to produce delicious coffee for everybody. So that as we move towards December is going to be my prime focus. However, the 3 things that I commit to do this month that will lead into that are number 1, our Jules, the post-roast production assistant, has hurt her shoulder, and she now needs a device to lift coffee from the floor to the top of our weigh pan, our Posi weigher. Now, so I have to commit to purchase this item that will assist in lifting coffee rather than her walking up some steps and tipping a bin, because with a damaged shoulder, she needs time to rest that shoulder. And of course, she needs help from one of us, myself, Sam, or Katie, if she's ever around, to be able to lift the coffee. So therefore, everything slows down because she's not entirely autonomous. She has to wait for somebody to assist. So get a vacuum loader to lift roasted coffee into our automatic weighing machine. That is commitment number 1. That is not an item that I particularly wanted to buy at this phase in my business. I would much prefer to have purchased a color sorter, or maybe get some branding on our vans, or there's a whole bunch of other capital expenditure that I'd like to do. However, it was on my list of items to do. It will hopefully speed up the process. Of course, it will be way better for an individual to be pouring coffee into a hopper on the floor than having to go up some steps and lift it into a weigher. So get that purchased and maybe installed. However, I will have to commit to the fabricator's timeline in order to do that, but commit to purchase the thing. Number 2 is obviously sort the Christmas coffee. I've purchased the green, I've got to bring it into the roastery, and we've got to design the label. Historically, I have used one of my children to create a label for Christmas, and this year I have 2 kids. So I'm gonna follow on with the same suit and sit down with them one evening and try to design a Christmas label. So I have to do that within the next 2 weeks so that we can print it and have it adhere to the packaging. And of course then that will then lead to the commitment to releasing the coffee on that last Saturday, the 29th of November. So that's number 2. That to be fair, is the most important. But yes, I have to do that. And thirdly, I need to work on big ticket, big view thing. And that is that in 2026, maybe in the first quarter, definitely by the end of the second, I want to have employed another human inside of this company. That person, I feel, needs to be a client relationship manager. Why? Well, I need to train people how to roast on the lorry. This is the biggest weakness in the company, not because I'm a particularly bad roaster of coffee, rather that I am the only roaster of coffee. So if I'm sick, if I want to go on holiday, there's a whole bunch of reasons that, well, basically means that I'm glued to that piece of kit. In order for me to train an individual to roast coffee the way I want them to, I think it's going to take me 6 months to a year of pretty focused work. I cannot do that if I'm also looking after other parts of the business. So I feel that if I employ a commercial client relationship manager, so that is somebody who will look after our wholesale community, that person will take away some of the workload that I perform during the week to allow me then to figure out how to employ somebody to roast and train them up to do that. So throughout November, I want to start thinking about that individual, how we must onboard them, what the scope of the role may be, and what sorts of things we need to get in place for the new year to begin that advertisement. Now that is a fairly big ticket item, and it could mean that as I approach it, we have to waylay it, we have to push it back, we will see. But it is a focus for the new year, so it is something that I wish to commit inside of November. There's also a little sort of pseudo thing that I must also do, and that is commit to doing the CVA for cuppers. So the CQI, the body in which I have done my Q grading examination and qualification through, has been absorbed or morphed into the SEA. And I have to do a conversion course by the end of this month. 30th of November, I think, is the last training day to do this conversion. I mean, do I need to do it? Not really. I continuing with the Q grading status thing is more, I would say, for my ego. It is something that I know intrinsically that I can taste, I can qualify coffee, I can score coffee, I can value coffee, which is, you know, important for me as an individual, but it's not important, I don't think, for the business. I mean, maybe it gives the business kudos, so maybe that's important in the selling arena. I don't know. Anyway, I need to, by the end of this month, have booked onto said course, a 2-day course, and complete and pass it. I mean, you know, I may not pass it. Who knows what your palate's like on the day of assessment, and I may fail. If I fail, that's it, the end, and that will be totally fine by me. If I pass, well, there's another commitment for another 3-year cycle until I do a recalibration, and maybe I'll reassess. The older I get, the worse I'm going to be as a taster, and you know, maybe at some point you bow out of those sorts of things. Anyway, that is maybe point 4, or an addendum to those 3 points that I suppose does form an important part of the business going forward, but it's less important than the other 3 that I stated. So to recap, I am going to purchase a vacuum loader for our weighing machine for Jules's shoulder. I will commit to finalizing the release of the Christmas coffee, and I'm going to begin planning for onboarding a new person for our team in the first or second quarter of 2026. And I hope that's been a small insight into what is going to happen in the next month. Do tune in at the end of November, beginning of December, to see what I'm going to be doing in the next month. Have a great week.